Did you know that the most talked about minority group in the United States makes up 18.5% of the US population? Projected to be the largest racial/ethnical community by 2030. Yet is only featured in 5% of Hollywood blockbusters. Yeah, that's right. Just 5% in the 21st century. And most of them are, let's just say, getting somewhere, but still stereotypical and the first ones to get canceled. Always.
Hi, I'm Natalie Feliciano. I am an aspiring filmmaker, writer, and current college student at Breakpoint Community College. And today I'm going to be showcasing a 5-episode YouTube series as part of the Helen's Research Fellowship Program entitled Behind the Lack of Latinx Representation. So hold on tight because it's going to be quite the ride. Okay, whether you like the term Latino, Latinx, Latina, Hispanic, I think we've been called other at one point. The Latinx community has been through a lot of major changes these past couple of decades. We went from very hardcore stereotypes that were borderline very offensive to very watered down versions of them, allowing the media to allow other non-Latinos to kind of make this not so harsh perception of us anymore. Kind of tough out here when you're constantly compared to that one narrative that Hollywood has drawn out for you and your community to be for so many years, that non-Latinos actually think that's how a Latino is supposed to be in real life, when in fact it's not. In order to understand our struggles as a community in Hollywood and to be an ally to our community and to our struggles, you first need to put down TikTok, stop listening to Bad Bunny because TikTok told you it was trendy, and actually learn our history and understand why we are where we are today and why we're still fighting for representation.
Let's start from all the way in the 1900s. The Pioneer Era. This is where Hollywood was born. The era where a bunch of nobodies who had no idea how to use a camera to portray their vision made their vision into a reality. These future filmmakers started to create film reels, focused on creating news, documentaries, and stage plays, starting with George Bentley's A Trip to the Moon in 1905. Now, that's what I call a vision. From there, all kinds of walks of life started to use this passion of filmmaking to come together and make meaningful stories. Sort of. The 1910s is where it all started for minority groups to shine, from behind the scenes to the big screen, with, for example, Samuel Lucas being the first African-American actor in a film, 1914's Uncle Tom's Cabin, or Sesum, Oaxaca's 1914's Typhoon. However, for the Latinx community, we didn't start to have significant progress in Hollywood. We had a rough introduction with the 1915's Birth of a Nation, pointing us in a very confusing and conflicting direction. However, not all was necessarily terrible. Towards the end of the pioneer silent era, Myrtle Gonzalez's 1916 The Lake of the Lost Girl featured its first mainstream Latina actress, with critics praising Gonzalez's performance. Likewise, with Ramon Nevado's 1925 film Ben Hur, with the same positive response. It was a start for us, just like for other minorities. From there, Roman Nevado and his second cousin, Dolores Del Rio, carried the next era of Hollywood, the silent era, as the iconic yet very controversial role of the Latin lover and the exotic appeal Latina. Oh, and don't forget Lupe Valdez as the comedic, hot-tempered, fast-talking, spicy wildcat, Mexican Spitfire.
Like I said, we had our good and our bad moments.
Despite the controversies, we were putting our foot in the door to ignite the fire for the long-standing fights for proper representation in Hollywood. Soon, many other Latinx talents would follow behind and in front of the camera, starting with the rise of Hollywood Studios era and the Golden Era. Faces like Rita Moreno and Jose Ferrer, becoming the first Latinos to win Oscars
for their roles in West Side Story in 1961 and Serrano de Vallarque. Also, Anthony Quinn for Vida Zappa
and Cuban sensation Desi Narandas, making the best of the Latino hype, becoming the first Latino to have their own sitcom with the iconic I Love Lucy. It was a great change for us in the golden era, something that had great potential, showing that the American dream was possible for many of the Latinx community. Then we just kind of dipped. Despite the milestones reached in the golden era, the changes and the dawn of modern film industry era made the Latinx community's experience the greatest setback in history. Our moment was over and we were back to the 150 maid roles that Mexican actress Lupe Alvarez played.
No.
Then in the 1980s, we had more Al Pacino roles as drug lords and Mexican cartel leaders than actual Mexican cartel leaders in Latin America displayed on television. Our screen time and roles fluctuated from being stereotypical leads to being very spirited extras. Then, throughout the 1990s, Hollywood portrayed us in more whitewashed roles in order to be more desirable towards an American audience. So much so, I thought Topanga Lawrence from Boy Meets World was my half Latina representation in the 90s, when in reality, it was Salma Hayek in that one scene that made her career in that movie, I think it was called Dusk Until Dawn, in that snake exotic scene. Yeah, that one. Oh, and not to mention the 30 years in Spanish class in high school watching Selena over and over again because J-Lo was every Spanish teacher's favorite Latina icon. For this period of time, Hollywood had a difficult time giving the Latinx community the proper representation that could have been capitalized on during the golden era, only having few hand-picked TV shows and films that were a restart for us, while the music industry and even pro wrestling was embracing the Latino heat. Then came the new millennium, our modern-day golden era. Modern Family became an iconic yet again bit controversial method to include new means of diversity into American television. Maybe Gloria was a very watered-down version of the spicy Latina stereotype, but she was at least a character that people could relate to. So a win's a win. Because soon after, many other means of representation started to follow, with Disney's 2007 Wizards of Waverly Place becoming a household name, 2006 Ugly Betty becoming a hit ABC show, Glee casting a perfect example of a Latinx LGBT character, Nickelodeon 2010 Victorious, and with 2010's American boy pop band Big Time Rush starring a Latinx main character. Even NBC capitalizing with Brooklyn 99 with two lead Latina characters. The progress slowly became a great reintroduction to our stories and characters, highlighting this momentum with the era of streaming services, in which Netflix became a major powerhouse and executing the power of a Latinx representation with shows like One Day at a Time 2017, On My Block 2018, Mr. and Gracias, and Gentrified in 2019, only to cancel them after no more than 3 seasons, despite their successes. But hey, in 2017, Disney gave us Coco and Princess Elena of Lavender, who's actually from Spain, but we'll take it as a win, like we did with Puss in Boots from Shrek. Fiona was my Disney princess. To now with HBO's In the Heights and Euphoria breaking records with a proper representation for most Latinos. It's complicated.
Either way, I think it's safe to say that we are finally capitalizing on the representation we didn't capitalize on during the golden era, and to create that safe space for our stories to be told in. That is why I have created this 5-episode mini-series here on YouTube in order to help educate non-Latino audiences to understand the lack of representation for Latinos in Hollywood. And during this mini-series, not only will I be breaking down both the negative and positive moments and milestones that the Latinx community has both contributed to and has been a part of. But as an aspiring filmmaker, I will also be creating a second component to this project, in which I will be creating my first screenplay entitled Valiente, in which Valiente will be heavily based on the research topic at hand, and we'll be exploring the harmful stereotypes and microaggressions that Latinx talent has faced throughout the years in the industry, and how we can understand our history, our community better as a whole in Hollywood in order to learn and not make the same mistakes again. So please join me on this journey. Throughout the next episode, I will be breaking all of this down with the screenplay and to learn how we can make Latinx representation better for tomorrow. I'm Natalie Feliciano, and I will see you later in the next episode. Bye!